Hey guys, Pretzelman 945 here. Welcome back to another video. And welcome to every anime that I watched in spring of 2025. Um, this season, I gotta say, was a very, very stacked season in terms of a lot of very, very cool anime original shows, and also just a banger season for awesome, cozy slice of life shows. Um, so yeah, we are going to get into it now. Um, I normally don't spend too long on continuing shows, just because I already talked about them in the previous season, but I seriously do feel pertinent to mention Apothecary Diary Season 2 as of right now, June 20th, 2025 at 7:29 p.m., about halfway through this year of anime. Apothecary Diary Season 2 is my current number one front runner for anime of the year. Because every single episode of this new season has been so much better than the last. And let me tell you, how good season two is has drastically affected its placement by moving it several places higher um in the massive ranking, which I haven't fully done yet, but like I know that in my head it's like several spaces ahead of where it was, but I don't know the exact place yet because I haven't made the list. Um, yeah, just absolutely. If you have not watched Apothecary Diaries, then fucking do it. Like after how incredible season two has been, there is no excuse. Um, okay, so going with the drop shows first. I end up dropping three shows this season. And the first one was I don't remember what the full title was, but it's like the one about the healer from the shadows, which I thought had an interesting premise, but it turned out that absolutely none of that was there, and it was just extremely generic fantasy slop. I watched the first episode and I was just done done with it. Um, and then the second one I dropped was Uchujin Moon, which was basically a very, very strange show about a extraterrestrial cat alien, kind of like the one in Captain Marvel, which I don't remember the name of that species. But it was kind of like that, except it could like talk. And like it wasn't bad necessarily. I was so confused and weirded out by it. I only watched the first episode. And then the third one I dropped was Classic Stars because I watched three episodes of this, and the first two episodes were semi interesting, but um I don't know. Like, you have the first two episodes which kind of like seem to introduce it. And in spite of the main character being incredibly generic, I did continue to watch it a little bit. Despite having that thought. But the thing that made me drop the show is just like it wasn't anything that was like that egregiously bad, but like there was like a thing in the third episode where like two of the characters bonded by like the smart kid teaching the MC like how to study right, and I don't know, at that point I felt like it kind of like revealed its true colors, so to speak, and I just thought it was um incredibly generic in it, and it kind of lost my interest from there. But those were the only shows I ended up dropping this season because the rest of them were were all pretty good with some absolute bangers in there. Um, okay, so one of the big ones that the big one I want to talk about first is Lazarus. So this was by far my most anticipated show going into this season, and it's not done yet. There's still 2 episodes left by the time I'm recording this. I never know exactly when to time these videos, but I think it's close enough to the end, anyways. Um, and and because I am a huge fan of Shinichiro Watanabe. I think that he is a brilliant director. I love Cowboy Bebop. I love Samurai Champloo. And I thought Terror in Resonance was pretty good, but just needed more episodes. And there are more Watanabe shows that I will watch in the future. But I've watched a fair amount, I think, of his well-known, and so I was really excited going into this show. And that's not to say that it was disappointing necessarily. I still really enjoyed every episode of Lazarus. Like, I think, like, if you go into this looking for a show all about post-apocalyptic just vibes, then you are going to get exactly what you want because that, in my opinion, is easily the main strength of this show. It is fun to see these characters interact and kind of wander around interacting with people in this very well realized post-apocalyptic world with a very interesting setting, which Watanabe I feel like always excels at. Also, when you have the director for John Wick managing the action scenes, you know that they are going to be absolutely incredible, and that's exactly what they were. The action choreography in Lazarus is just fantastic. It is so fun and entertaining to watch. Now, where Lazarus kind of falls off and uh was a tiny bit like I guess of a letdown um is the fact that like the whole premise of the show is the fact that without getting too much into spoilers, like this genius doctor, Dr. Skinner, who invented this drug called Hapna, which supposedly can like cure any illness and whatnot. Super interesting idea. Then he like goes missing for 3 years, then suddenly reappears and says that the world is going to end in 30 days because Hapna actually kills anyone that end up taking it. Uh, super, super fascinating idea. And that's another thing that Watanabe excels at, is creating super fucking cool ideas. But the problem is, like, I just mentioned how this show's biggest strength is the vibes in a post-apocalyptic world. And the problem is that is kind of all that there is to it. Like, I think the biggest thing that Lazarus is lacking is a overall plot direction because, because without that in place, it kind of feels like at a lot of points the kind of great vibes that it goes for and the extreme seriousness of the plot that they need to solve the mystery of to find Skinner so they can get the Hopnik cure. It just feels like they clash a lot, and like it feels like in several episodes they seem to be making progress only for that to lead to nowhere, and then like they will constantly re-emphasize the importance of getting things done, but then like they haven't actually gotten anything done. And it wasn't like that bad of a thing because to make me drop the show because I still really enjoy like the character interactions and kind of like the missions that they went on just vibing together. But like I really think that like if it had a more consistent plot structure and through line, then it would have been a absolutely incredible show. But just I think that really just it did kind of hurt it in my opinion. But it was still a fun show to watch. Now another huge one, which probably received like by far the most controversy of any show this season has got to be the beginning after the end. So, uh, let's set two precedents right off the bat. First off, I have not read the light novel. This anime was my first interaction with this beyond hearing the name of it in the past and knowing it was a very well liked light novel. Second, um, this has a lot of similarities to Mushoku Tensei. Um, and even people that compare the light novel, I've seen the memes of Mushoku Tensei at home type stuff. Um, but like and first off, I do want to say, the hate that this show got, like the store bombing that this show got was absolutely ridiculous. Like, I just, I'm gonna look at something on my Mal app real quick. Um, you know, the beginning after the end has a 5.94. Which I don't know if this is a okay. Okay, for a little bit, it was a slightly higher score than, or slightly lower score than Uzumaki, and I I personally I thought that was absolutely fucking insane. Because like Uzumaki was not that great of a show. Like the first episode was really good, but then it fell off hard. And the fact that they even have like similar mouse scores to me is just absolutely mind blowing because like the beginning after the end to me was like a decent show, but it was nowhere but it's like leagues better than Uzumaki. Um, and this is like by far the most overhated anime I've ever seen. Like, was the animation budget incredibly basic? Yes. And if you were a light novel reader, I'm sure you were probably disappointed. That's that's completely fair. Like I said, I have not read the light novel, so I have nothing to go off of. It's just my opinion that this was incredibly overhated. Um, but it was fun fantasy. It was just good fantasy fun, in my opinion. It was basic fun fantasy. That's kind of how I think of this show. And there are some aspects that I do like slightly better than Mushoku Tensei. For one thing, I do think Rudius has pretty great development, all things considered. Uh, minus the end of season two. Um, but I like the character idea of Arthur a lot more. I think the idea that he was like a former king in life, what is just a much more interesting character mold to me. Um, and so I am looking forward to the second tour, which is I can't remember when, but it's supposed to come out later this year. And then like season two has already been confirmed for next year. So I am excited for that, and I enjoyed this show for what I found it to be was like fun, um, uh, you know, fantasy stuff. um, So those might be the two big ones out of the way. Um, one of my personal favorites, probably in my top three of this season, like not counting continuing shows in these rankings, of course. One of my top three of the season, I gotta say, was definitely MHA Vigilantes. This was such a pleasant surprise. It's such a interesting spin-off that expands the MHA world in such a cool way. And I think it's got really, really chill vibes. I really relate to Koichi because um I really understand the kind of um college student mentality. And so I there was a lot of personal relation for me there. Um but I liked Pop. I liked Knuckle Duster. I thought they were fun characters. As I'm recording this, I believe there's only one. The last episode is going to air on Monday. Um, and so that would be the end of that. But this show has really fun action. I think Koichi gets some nice development with his powers. But I also just kind of really like the general, I guess, vibe of it. It's just like a really chill, fun time, and I think the way that they kind of incorporate several like well-known heroes that you just don't get to see a whole lot of, or like some of the teachers are still like active heroes in this show, like Aizawa and Miss Midnight. Or we get to see a lot of Ingenium, which I personally really appreciated because of the fact that he had limited screen time due to the fact he was kind of like instant nuke by Stain. And speaking of Sting, and I think that this is probably the best thing that this show did was it expanded Stain's character like crazy. It gave him a lot more screen time, and I think it allowed for one of the most interesting characters in MHA to kind of get their motives explored a lot more. And I personally loved that. I absolutely loved MHA Vigilantes. I knew I would like an MHA spinoff because I love MHA, but like this was even more of a pleasant surprise than I could have thought. Now speaking of surprises, something that seemed to surprise me literally every new episode that came out in terms of just the absolutely ridiculous amount of plot twists that happened was Kowloon generic romance. So this show kind of baits you into thinking that it is a romance story. Um and there just doesn't seem to be something right about what's going on, and then you're like slowly bit by bit kind of uncovering the mystery of what is happening. And I think the way that the show has paced this mystery is fantastic, and the way that it has like revealed new bits of information and every new plot twist has felt very like cohesive, and it felt like it made sense like continuing on. um my only concern with this show is the fact that um as I'm recording this, it has two more episodes to go. The 12th out of 13, of which is airing tomorrow. Um, and I really, really hope that this show is able to answer, give a satisfying answer to every question that it's raised, because it has raised a lot of questions. Um, um, okay. Next is a show that I still don't really know fully what to think about. And I suppose I will have a more concrete opinion on it because, at least I did read some conflicting things, but for what I could find, because for some reason this and another show on this list don't have concrete episode counts, but um, from what I could find, Kijin Gento Show, or Sword of the Demon Hunter, does appear to be continuing into next season, and I thought this was a fun show. I think it's cool to see a guy just kind of hunting down demons in traditional, like, Edo period Japan. I love seeing that setting. And just seeing a guy hunt demons while he's actually a demon himself is a really cool twist on that. It's kind of like a perversion on the concept, and I think it's really interesting. Um, just for me, the thing that kind of, it's not even really a bad thing. It's just something that, like, makes this show not as good as some of the other shows I watched this season. Is it's a similar issue to Lazarus, but still completely different shows. Where, like, I think that this show had an absolutely fantastic hour-long first episode. I remember seeing quite a bit of discussion about it, and then after that there wasn't really much. And I think the reason because of that is because of the fact that this show, like Lazarus, it doesn't really have any sort of overarching plot direction. Like, it has a couple of, like, mini arcs, but where like some demons that Jinya, the main character, goes to defeat, it might take like 2 or 3 episodes or something, but like, um what, I don't know. I kind of feel like, and this might sound harsher than I'm making it out to be, because I'm not like that negative on this show, but sort of the Demon Hunter was kind of just watered down Doro. Um and I wish that there was, because it clearly set up as like this crazy thing where, like, Ginya's sister was a demon, and then, like, all this tragedy happens, and then she ends up, like, turning evil, maturing into a full demon, and only now, I'm gonna, I'm gonna look at this. I just find it on the pirate site I was on. Here it is. Yeah. So the 13th episode will be airing on Monday, and only now is, like, his evil sister demon finally seemingly coming back to play a role into the plot and his development. And I just like the stuff that he, did with the slaying demons, it was fun, but I think that this show had the potential to be a lot better if there just was a more overarching plot structure in place. Um, Now the next show, which weirdly has, and the other show which weirdly doesn't have a confirmed number of episodes, so based on what I've seen, I think it's continuing into the next season. Is Gundam G-Club. So I really should preface this by saying that um before this show, like this show is the only Gundam property of any kind that I have watched. Other than that, the only thing that I know about Mecha, or I mean not Mecha, about Gundam is that it's a very well acclaimed Mecha franchise that goes back to like the 1970s or something insane. And there's some major event called like the Universal Century War, I think. That was literally all I knew about Gundam in general before watching this show. And to be honest, I was a little bit hesitant to give Gundam G Clubs a watch. Not because I thought it would look bad. It looked cool, but I didn't know whether I had to like know anything about Gundam in before watching it, or like watch other Gundam shows for at least some kind of context, even though this is a spin-off show. Um I definitely should have, I think, watched at least something else. And so that is, I guess, my one warning if you're going into Gundam G-Quux. If you are not familiar with anything Gundam related like me, obviously I can't tell you what you're supposed to watch. I don't know what I'm supposed to watch to understand the kind of stuff in this show. But I would say, like, seek out some YouTube video or like an article that tells you some kind of essential watching guide for maybe like a show or two of basic Gundam stuff to kind of understand some of the things in this show. Because I think I have a grasp on like 85% of this show, but I feel like there are still some things I'm definitely missing. Um, but about the show itself, considering I had absolutely zero prior experience with Gundam, I had a blast watching this show. It was a lot of fun. It started out as like the basic plot where like, two girls meet each other and get wrapped up in kind of illegal clan battling using Gundams to make money. And that's a fun premise, and I really like the way it goes that way, and I don't remember how long that lasts for, maybe like seven, eight, nine of the episodes that are out so far. Um, and after that, it kind of is just going into some absolutely wild shit that I could not explain at all, but I'm finding really cool. Um, so that's in fact that's kind of the whole gist of Gundam G Quats in a nutshell, is really fun, wild shit that I don't really understand that well. Oops, I need to open the calculator. Oh boy, already 30 minutes. This is going to be a very long seasonal video. Probably the longest one I've made so far. And we're only like halfway through the list here. Um, the next show that I watched was Summer Pockets, and this one, this is going to be so simple. If you know anything about a Jun Maeda visual novel, and I know that this is him because I looked in the credits, and he doesn't have a huge role on it, but he definitely worked on it, and he was like the original writer for the visual novel that this anime is based off of. So, if you've watched Clanad or like Canon or Air, which I haven't watched, but the other shows of his, then you probably know what you're getting into with this show because it's just like the same guy romancing all the different girls in uh separate plot lines that are each a couple of episodes that don't interject with each other at all. So, if you like that, then you are going to like this show. And if you're not really interested in that, then I would say probably give Summer's Pocket to skip. Personally, I love Clanad and I do quite like that stuff. Um for me, I have enjoyed this show for what it is because I knew exactly what I was getting. But I would say if you don't really know what you're getting, or you know that you don't really like this kind of show, then I would say give it a skip probably. Okay, I want to talk about this next one actually. Uh, it's Your Forma, which was a fascinating show. I think that this show had a really really cool premise. And Thanks. I think that this show had a really cool premise, and um, I think that the kind of like mystery vibes that it was going for in terms of like how they solve mysteries with it pertaining to the kind of this isn't really dystopian, but kind of like the futuristic world building, really gave me like Psychopass vibes, and I fucking love Psychopass. Psychopass is peak. Well, season one is anyway. Uh, and the thing that kind of I think makes this show suffer is kind of similar to sort of the Demon Hunter and Lazarus, but a little bit different in that like this show very clearly has its own distinct like you could call a mini arc where they're all like separate mysteries that um they're uncovering, and it's not that these individual mysteries are not interesting, but what I think would have made this show a lot better is if, similar to Psychopaths, it was kind of like smaller mysteries that led to uncovering something bigger. But this show doesn't really do that, and as a result, it kind of makes watching on a week to week experience a little bit difficult sometimes because I think that like the way that these mini arcs are structured, the week to week episode airing it doesn't really uh favor these mini arcs in terms of cohesive pacing. Um, but like it was an enjoyable show. It is an enjoyable show. I think it's got a really cool premise, and the next episode comes out, or the last episode comes out next Wednesday. I don't know if there's going to be more seasons or not. I guess we'll see. But yeah. Fun show, but just I think that it's going to be a lot better now that it's almost done and people can binge it. I think that's definitely going to be the much more enjoyable way to watch this show. Um, but the week to week experience for me did leave it feeling a bit stale at points due to the kind of week to week format not really favoring the kind of mini arc plot structure. Okay. Next up, we have probably my pick for my favorite anime of this season, and by far the biggest hidden gem of the season. That is Apocalypse Hotel. This is a completely original anime by Cygames Pictures. And I gotta say, after this show, I'm definitely on the lookout for more Cygames Pictures stuff. I know that they're a relatively newer studio, but this show has got me behind them 100%. Because not only does this show have way better animation than it needs to have at certain points, but just there are a lot of moments that are just so beautiful in this show. Like the most recent episode, episode 11, which had like almost no dialogue in it, was just truly absolute cinema. It was such a beautiful and peaceful episode. Um, and and just it really showed how beautiful and was, but not only that, but also how beautiful and interesting this setting is. And I think the idea is so fun and cute and creative. Like the idea of this hotel that serves aliens hundreds of years after humans evacuate. We don't even know if they're still alive, but the hotel is still running up and dandy by aliens and other robots to serve aliens is just I love the concept so much, and all the characters have so much charm to them, and it is just such a warm and fun thing to watch. Um, and and the character writing in this show is just absolutely amazing. And to be honest, I'm not like making anything concrete yet, but like there's a very high chance, as of right now, that this ends up on my top 10 of the year because this is just such a fun and wholesome show. Definitely my pick for anime of this season. Um, Now, in terms of the fun slice of life shows, for the anime original one, and personally the one I can't just ever slightly prefer, even though they were basically equal for me, just because I liked the premise just a tiny bit better, was Food for the Soul. Not much to say on this. It's just a cute girls doing cute things show, but it's like about them just bonding as friends and cooking really delicious looking food. That's basically it. And Mono is kind of the same thing, but it's just about them visiting cool places all over Japan in Nagano Prefecture and taking pictures of it. And that's basically Mono in a nutshell, and Taisho the cat is the goat. That's basically those two shows in a nutshell. um and the last show that I watched this season, and I'm going to say probably my second favorite show this season, and also another one with potential to maybe be on my top 10 of the year. We'll see how the summer and fall seasons play out. But I should, for context, I have never read the book Anne of Green Gables. And I don't really know, and I didn't really know anything about it before watching Anne Shirley, but based on how much fun I've had watching this show, I think I would really like the book. Um, Now to start off, first off, the animation and art style in this show is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. It is beautiful. It was so nice to look at this show was. And, like I said, considering how much I've enjoyed this show, I think that I would really enjoy the book because the characters and all of their character dynamics and like the kind of friends that An makes and everything like that is just fantastic. And um and I found myself to be a very, very big fan of this show because it was just a very nice, consistent experience that I really, really enjoyed. But yeah, that is gonna do it for this video. This is by far the longest seasonal anime video I've done so far. And apparently summer season is supposed to be stacked, so who knows, that video might be even longer. But I hope you enjoyed this roundup of seasonal anime, and I will be back recording another one of these videos in the end of the summer season. But for now, let me know your best and worst animes of this season in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye bye!